everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
a podcast exploring religion, politics, and the current events from two atheists who are just trying to survive life in these here United States of America.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we're going to be talking about a pastor with a passion for books.
With a heart of gold.
No,
yeah,
not really,
he is very into books, at least this month.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be we'll be talking about some pretty gay shit. So
Oh yeah.
it's Pride Month.
It's Pride Month.
You gotta.
I actually have another Pride story as well. So
okay. Well, let's do our stories first.
Yeah, I'm not doing that one first.
Okay.
But I would like to talk about a religious freedom that I had never heard of, Dan. Which is apparently the freedom to discriminate against people with seeing eye dogs.
Oh!
The story is coming to us from Bryan, Texas. The thriving metropolis of Bryan, Texas. They're big enough to have their own TV stations. So,
okay.
I had never heard of Bryan, Texas.
No, me neither.
It's it's out there. It's in Texas.
It exists.
It does exist. There's a church there that is not being named by this article to protect the innocent, which I think is fucking bullshit, and we'll get to it. It's a story about Mary Ramos, who is blind, and she has a companion dog by the name of Betty, who's her seeing eyes.
Oh, Betty. That's adorable.
And Betty goes with her, obviously, everywhere. Okay. And so Mary decides to try to go to this church.
That's her first mistake right there.
That's where correct. But however, not in her mind. She wants to try out this church, and they refused entry to her dog. And which turns out is not a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act because it is a religious institution. Of course. Of course there would have been an exemption.
Insane. Why would they exempt? Listen, for you international listeners, and maybe you American listeners who just don't know anything about the ADA.
Yeah.
It applies to literally everywhere. Like, it doesn't apply to your personal house.
No.
But anywhere that people go that is open to people, stores, restaurants, places of business. Yeah. You got to be able to accommodate people with disabilities.
The law has very specific exclusions in it as to like who does not have to comply with ADA. And I will say certain areas of hospitals make sense.
Sure.
That makes sense to me. I don't need my blind surgeon to
be accommodated.
But I mean, you know what I mean? Like, okay. Certain areas of hospitals, you probably don't want service animals in. And let's see, there are some private clubs. I'm not sure about that one entirely, but the one that I know absolutely sure.
Private clubs are allowed to exclude people.
And they're generally sort of seen as private spaces, right?
Yeah.
Because they're private. But and then some religious entities, it says in this article. And that just leaves me just going, of course. The churches were probably uncomfortable when the ADA was before Congress, and they got in there and they got some exemption written into the law because they were just like, oh, we don't have to retrofit our building. Typically, you don't have to retrofit.
What if I think that people with disabilities are kind of gross?
Yeah. And the church was clear. The church was clear. Mary was welcome. Betty was not.
The dog.
The dog was not.
Literally, the mechanism by which this woman literally can move around.
Yeah. On her own.
That is. Yeah. That's not even a dog at that point. That's just a part of her.
Right. And so there's this line in this article, we're not naming the church in this story because the organization did not break any laws. But they did do something wrong.
Yeah.
They did something horribly wrong. Like, these people need to be shamed.
Who cares if they broke a law? They did something evil and shitty.
They're supposed to be a moral organization, and they did something, in my mind, immoral.
Yeah.
And Mary says there was just this feeling of being turned away, this feeling of embarrassment, this feeling of being excluded from something.
Yeah.
Which is, that's why these laws exist. She, as a blind woman with a service animal, was unaware that this exemption existed. She'd never heard of it.
She's pretty fucking aware now.
Yeah. And the ADA is, like, guys, ADA is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I actually went on a trip to England with a quadriplegic guy who's in a wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. England does not have an equivalent to the ADA. It was a goddamn nightmare getting that guy around, and it was stupid.
Yeah.
And it really pointed out to me how wonderful the ADA actually is.
It's one remarkable. Of the, like, if you need an example of, like, what Congress can do, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is a shining star. It's one of probably their greatest achievements of the last number of decades. Like, it is truly, truly wonderful law. And as the decades have passed, the country has just fallen into alignment more and more, and places are just incredibly more accessible than they used to be.
Can I be honest though?
What?
I'm almost shocked that it wasn't repealed during the Trump era. If he gets reelected, I guarantee you they're going to pass the Screw Those Cripples Act.
Yeah, one more reason not to vote for Donald Trump, I suppose. Although I don't know that he's on the record on that one. But it really, truly is a remarkable law, and it has improved the lives of many people.
Here's the rule. Here's what I think needs to happen. If a Christian church wants to exclude a disabled person, the deal is this: heal them. If you can do the thing that your stupid book says you can do, then you can say no animals, no service animals.
Yeah.
Fucking make her see.
Yeah.
And then you can say no to the animal. Until that moment, the dog gets in.
Yeah.
Shame on you. All right. Well, I'm going to take us to beautiful East Brunswick, New Jersey.
Oh.
Probably it's lovely.
The most beautiful of the Brunswicks, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to go to West Brunswick. Oh, place is a shithole.
Or Central.
North?
North?
North is okay. Anyway, East Brunswick is they have a high school.
Mm-hmm.
And this week, last week, the kids got let out of school for the summer, and everybody got their yearbook, which is a tradition here in these United States where, it's a dumb book that has everybody's picture in it. And, all the clubs get together and have their picture taken, and that goes in the yearbook and whatever.
This is still a thing.
It's still not, very
they don't
much
just do a digital, like.
Oh no, you need the book.
Wow.
You got to have what? Someone's going to sign your iPhone? Come on.
I don't know.
You need something for all the dumb kids to say, "Have fun this summer. Don't stay cool." I guess they probably don't write "stay cool" anymore.
I don't know.
They write "don't be cap" or whatever. The kids are saying.
Oh, you nailed it, Dan. You should go find a yearbook and sign it right away.
Don't be sus. No cap.
Yeah. And the kids will now play a game, which is
keep your Riz.
Spot the 48-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
Spot
exactly.
the 48-year-old. Where's his signature?
I write like a 16-year-old, so that my penmanship's no better, so that's good. Anywho, imagine being one of these public school kids, getting your yearbook, opening it up to the page where you hope your favorite club's or your group's picture is, only to find no.
Oh no.
Not only is it not there, but the wrong picture is there.
Oh.
And it's just going to get worse. Because
the wrong picture.
The East Brunswick school, the Jewish student group photo has been deleted and replaced by a group of Muslim students.
Oh. Does it still say that it's the Jewish group?
It's
like, all the copy surrounding it is what was supposed to be on that page, but the picture
except the students' names were deleted also. But yes, all of the rest of the copy was the same.
Were the Muslim kids, were their names under the photo?
No.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I get the sense that all that happened was they deleted the kids' names and switched out the picture.
So the Muslim kids, or some kids, deleted the Jewish students.
I don't think this was Muslim kids that did this, and I'll tell you why. They're getting hate about this. Bet. They're getting shit. Like, literally, what you want to do in the current political climate in this world is raise tensions between Jewish people and Muslim people. I think that's as good as it. What a great prank, you guys. So hate has been flying left and right. An inquiry has begun into this. It is being investigated. My guess is some dumb kid thought this was going to be pretty funny and didn't get that there would be like dangerous implications for other humans.
So you think this is some kid who's never even heard of like Gaza?
Oh no, they've heard of it.
They were just this will be funny, and just picked the wrong two groups. And
no, they didn't knew exactly
the geopolitical issues surrounding.
They just don't understand the gravity of the geopolitical issues. Right. They just think that it's just a story on the newspaper or whatever, or like a reason why kids skip class to protest, and they don't take it seriously, and then they just do the thing. I was dumb and young one time, so I it certainly makes sense to me that could happen. However, we don't know what the actual how this actually happened or who was responsible. What we do know is that now big organizations, both Jewish organizations and Muslim organizations, are having to respond to this. The mayor of East Brunswick, Brad Cohen, who I assume is Jewish because his name is Brad Cohen.
How dare you?
Called this a blatant anti-Semitic act, and denounced hatred in East Brunswick. And then the American Islamic the New Jersey office of the Council on American Islamic Relations, they called for an investigation, and they've said that it's triggered heinous backlash against some Muslim students. Who they didn't know this was happening. It's just, they're victims as well. So anyway, fun stuff happening in the high schools. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
by the way, just as a public service announcement, if anybody in your family, you listener at home, has an anti-Muslim or an anti-Jewish take, just point out to them that they're all fucking the same. Islam, Judaism, Christianity, they're all the goddamn same. Right. So shut up.
Right. You can be anti-religious. Just dish it out evenly, I guess is what you're,
Yeah, you don't get to be Christian and then be like, oh, the Muslims, wow, look at their hatred and their intolerance and their terrorism. And it's like, yeah, but Christians, What about that?
All right. Moving right along. Dan, there's a certain Samuel Alito has been in the news a lot lately.
God damn that man.
A member of the Supreme Court, Justice Samuel Alito. I should say.
Fast becoming one of our favorites.
Oh, isn't he just a gem on the court?
What a peach.
You probably saw in the news over the last few weeks, he's had this sort of flag controversy, Flaggate. Can we call it Flaggate?
Yes.
Going on.
Where he very clearly did a thing and then immediately claimed it was his wife and was...
Yeah, well, and that's about what I was about to get into. He flew the U.S. flag, or I guess I should say, the U.S. flag was flown upside down outside of his home on his house's flagpole. That's was common with the Stop the Steal folks.
Yeah, that happened on January 6th.
Yep. And then they've spotted the Appeal to Heaven flag, which is unfortunate because it is one of like the revolutionary flags. Revolutionary era flags. But that's become very popular with the militant Christian nationalists. And like you just alluded to, Alito made perhaps the dumbest defense ever about the flags, saying, "My wife is fond of flying flags. I am not."
Such a fucking liar.
So ridiculous.
Such an obvious lie. And if you want proof of the lie, literally, he's like a huge baseball fan, like a Philadelphia Phillies fan specifically.
Sure.
And apparently his wife, who I don't think could give a shit about baseball, apparently, his wife has flown the Phillies flag many times. So. But he doesn't like flags.
Right.
He's not a fan of flags.
Yeah. Anyway, he has been caught on tape because I mean, again, he's sort of like trying to distance himself from what these things mean, right? My wife is fond of flying flags. I am not, right? Like,
right, because the thing it means is that he should recuse himself from any case involving the 2020 election and Donald fucking Trump.
Yeah. And quite honestly, I think it also starts to really question his legitimacy on the court in general.
If you hadn't already.
Because blatant partisanship and also blatant disconnection with reality. If you supported Stop the Steal, you do not have a connection to reality, right?
Yeah.
You have demonstrated your ability to be so far in your extreme bubble as to not have a grip on fucking reality. Yeah. And so it really draws into question his legitimacy on the court, in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know who else. I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of like podcasts or analysis of this kind of stuff, but like, it's unconscionable to me that he's on the court. But nonetheless, the story that I want to highlight is him being caught on tape by a liberal documentary filmmaker who was posing as a right-wing Christian nationalist. She caught him on tape saying some stuff that undermines any defense that he might have about his position, not about the flags and whatnot, but just sort of that if he would ever try to hold himself up as being impartial, right? This definitely undercuts that. So anyway, like I said, she was posing as a right-wing activist of sorts, I guess. It was at this thing called the Supreme Court Historical Society, their annual dinner on this most recent June 3rd. And this is this is a known event to go to gain access to the Supreme Court justices.
I've heard of this.
And so anyway, the documentary filmmaker, her name's Lauren Windsor, and I don't think there's actual like videotape, but there is audio. Because, well, I'll get to the whole thing. Anyway, in the recording, she approaches Alito and mentions that they had spoken the year before at the same function, and that over the course of the year, sort of her position on the topic of political polarization in America sort of shifted. And she says, I don't know that we can negotiate with the left in a way that needs to happen for the polarization to end. I think that it's a matter of like winning. And Alito responds, I think you're probably right. One side or the other is going to win. I don't know. I mean, there can be a way of working, a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be compromised. They really can't be compromised. So it's not like you're going to split the difference, right? People in this country who believe in God have to keep fighting for that, to return our country to a place of godliness. And he says, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So she's speaking as a kind of person who I hope terrifies everybody who's listening. But it's just a character. She's just in character. But he responds in kind. He responds as though this is perfectly normal stuff. That this is that, this idea that there can't be compromises. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you fucking talking about? There can't be compromises, right? Like if you can't see the bigger picture here of how, the expansion of rights and having a secular government protects us all. Right. That this is how we live together, right? Is by preserving a woman's, access to abortion, right? If you're
against it, you don't get one.
You don't have to participate. Having gay marriage doesn't mean you have to get gay married. Right.
And we'll talk about that a little later in the show also.
Yeah. But nonetheless.
So it's very disturbing to hear a person who's meant to adjudicate laws in this country boldly proclaim that their dogma is what's going to guide them, and that they don't see any way of
finding the middle,
of even listening to another side of a story.
Yeah, it's really truly terrifying. And just so we can have an example from another conservative, mind you, but another example of what can be said instead. Right. In response to these same questions, because she also approaches John Roberts, the Chief Justice. Right. Yeah. And so she basically asks him similar questions about polarization in the country and everything. And Roberts, and I this does feel maybe a little clueless, but he sort of takes issue with her assertion that the nation is unusually polarized. And he says that he sort of talks about tensions during the Vietnam War era, right, as an example. He also insisted that the Supreme Court's current role is not exceptional. He says the idea that the court is in the middle of a lot of tumultuous stuff going on is nothing new. And, so whether or not, and then she asks, this is actually really telling. She says, does the court have an obligation, or she asks if the court has an obligation to put the country on a more moral path. And he just turns the question back around and he says, what would you want me to be in charge of putting the nation on a more moral path? He says, that's for the people that we elect. That's not for lawyers. And then she says something about America being a Christian nation and that the Supreme Court should be guiding us in that path. And Roberts disagrees, saying that the perspectives of Jewish and Muslim friends or citing the perspectives of Jewish and Muslim friends before asserting it's not our job to do that. It's our job to decide the cases the best we can. Now, you could say, well, of course, that's what he's saying, right?
Right.
I will point out that Roberts, before this like ridiculous 6-3 majority, conservative liberal majority on the Supreme Court, Roberts was the fifth of the 5 conservative justices and often found himself in the middle because the other 4 were so extreme. And now he's outnumbered, right? And in fact, he's probably, I don't know, he's got to be in this really weird place of being really irrelevant as the Chief Justice.
Well, and let's not be naive here. He's still a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit, but he is old guard conservative piece of shit.
Yes.
He's not this new fanfangled, far right Christian nationalist.
He's not an extremist Christian nationalist.
Right. But he is a very deeply conservative man. It's just he was in the middle only because the other 4 were so crazy. Like he sided with the left, with the liberal justices a number of times on various different issues, right?
But the lunatics have taken over.
But the lunatics completely control it now, of which Alito is, I think, seen as like the sort of the intellectual powerhouse.
Yeah,
which is terrifying.
Yeah, it's really scary.
So
when he and Thomas are the ones that everyone's looking to as sort of the elder statesman of the thing, it's not acceptable. It is horrifying.
It's really, really, really awful. Anyway, caught on tape, speaking truth. And because normally I think he's tried to be a little bit more cagey, but I think he felt like he was in a safe space.
Yeah.
And there you have it, folks.
Yeah. We got to get more microphones around that guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of pieces of shit, I am going to take us to a tweet was released recently that was widely spread around the Twitter sphere. I am as shocked as you are to learn that people are still on Twitter.
Well, they aren't. They're on X.
No. I don't accept this. It's still Twitter. It's just shitty Twitter now. Anyway, it being the sort of, now right-wing shell of the thing that it once was, this thing that went around was a video and a sort of quasi press release by the American College of Pediatricians.
Oh.
Now that sounds very official.
That does.
And very, very much like you should listen to them.
I, in fact, would automatically trust anything that they're saying.
Yeah.
So tell me what I'm supposed to believe. Tell me what I'm supposed to do.
What they came out and said was that they're calling for the immediate stoppage of gender affirming care for children.
Oh. Wow.
Which sounds they must have done something. There must be a
I'm caught off guard. Yeah, no, seriously though. What did they find out that, is putting these kids at risk?
Jesus.
Well, Jesus does put kids at risk. So
here's the thing. They are the bullshit pediatric group.
Oh.
The real American pediatric group is the American Academy of Pediatrics.
And this was college?
This was yes, exactly. The American College of Pediatricians, not the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Oh, I see what they did there. Yeah.
It is a full on wolf in sheep's clothing sort of thing, and look, they've been doing this for a minute, and so you have to watch out for them.
Yeah.
But this is a group that, according to Wired, which found some leaked documents, I guess, this group has 700 members. whereas the American Academy of Pediatrics has 67,000 members.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also want to make sure that everybody knows not to listen to any advice or read any tweets, I guess, from anything from the American Medical Society. That's
right.
Also one not to pay attention to.
Yeah. If your dentist is a member of the American Dentist Association, maybe turn around and walk away. So they came out and they mind you, this is a group that is labeled as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And they just
really
came. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They have, they're anti same-sex marriage. They're all about abstinence only sex education. They don't like vaccines. They link homosexuality with pedophilia. They're bad. They're bad people. And here's the other thing. They're wrong. They're 100% wrong. Gender affirming care has been found consistently to be safe and to prevent child suicide, which I think that's one of the worst of the potential side effects of any condition that a kid could have, is death. So if you can prevent kids from, dying.
Also death by their own hand.
Yeah.
Because the suffering that's led up to that moment.
Right. Even if they don't injure themselves, they're in pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want children to be in pain, American College of Bullshit?
Yeah, they do, because they're not a scientific organization or a medical organization. They're an ideological organization.
And their ideology is more important than the deep suffering of children. They are valuing their dogmas over the suffering of children. And that is a mild priority issue.
And even though the numbers obviously they're in the great minority as far as like pediatric organizations, I guess. They found 700 doctors to sign up. Yep. Oh God. That's terrifying.
You should ask your pediatrician if they're a member of that group. And then if they are, just probably like take a poop on their desk, give them a bad Google score, and then run away.
Oh God, Dan. All right. Well, this story, I'm sorry. Were you done?
Yeah, no, that's done.
It felt like you were done. I just charged along.
Charge away.
This is my Pride Month story, Dan.
Hooray for Pride.
Oh, Pride. Woo! Hooray for gays. All right. Dan, this is unfortunately from Pakistan. So the cheer can stop now when talking about gay people and Pakistan. The story, it's not even so much like Pakistan, already bad. Then the article that I found the story in describes the city that this story happened in as the conservative northern city of Abbottabad. And I'm just like,
if you're the conservative city in Pakistan, zoinks.
And if maybe you've heard of Abbottabad.
I have.
That is where, how do you know it?
I just really like the sound of the name. So I know I've heard it because people have said about it.
Okay. Well, you might have heard it before, Dan, because that's where Osama bin Laden was found and killed.
Yes,
so
I do remember that.
And Abbottabad had just welcomed him with open arms. In fact, the entire Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, that was so bad.
Don't just make up words.
Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I practiced beforehand, everybody. I promise. It's just it's impossible.
Your Urdu is terrible.
That's the province. It's known for the limitations that they place on women, where there's limited access to education for women and basically no socializing outside of their homes.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is a story about a gay man in Pakistan and his application that he filed with the deputy commissioner of the city to, I guess, for like a business license for a gay bar.
Oh, dude. Incorrect. You have made a calculation error.
It's just like, Dan, oh shit, this story. It's like it was written by The Onion. Because it just keeps going. I'm just going to cut to the chase here. He has been detained.
Yeah.
And he is currently in a psychiatric hospital.
They threw him in the loony bin.
They did. Yeah. Which, and this is the sick part of this whole thing.
Okay.
Which is, because I don't want to blame the victim here, and he clearly is the victim here, but something could not have been right. Right. Like,
no, that's what I was going to say. Like, maybe not because he's gay, but maybe he belongs there because that was a deadly lapse of judgment.
He needs to be somewhere where he could maybe get some actual, like, real psychiatric help, because I'm afraid that his suffering has just
you don't trust
really
the psychiatric community of Abbottabad?
I don't think they're treating him for the right thing. Let me just, I'm going out on a limb here. Anyway, some details about the club. In the application, the club was meant to be a great convenience and resource for many homosexual, bisexual, and even some heterosexual people residing in Abbottabad in particular, and in other parts of the country in general. It's important to point out that gay sex is illegal in Pakistan, punishable by starting at 2 years in prison, up to life in prison.
Yeah.
And displays of affection are socially frowned upon among heterosexual couples, with fornication before marriage being a crime. And so the whole gay thing is just kind of a non-starter. The application also stated that in, quote, the envisaged gay club, tentatively to be called Lorenzo Gay Club, there would be no gay or non-gay sex other than kissing. And then there was also in the application, it says a clearly visible notice on the wall would warn no sex on premises. This would mean that no legal constraints would be flouted on the premises. Anyway. So this guy, God bless him. Like it's either unbelievable bravery or there's something going on here.
Yeah.
And I'm so sad for him, because whatever was going on with him has landed him in a fucking heap of hurt.
I get it. He should qualify to be to get asylum status.
He should. Yeah.
Any gay person
he would, actually,
in all of these parts of the world,
I'm pretty sure,
should go to a decent country.
Yeah. There's somewhere in the world that would take him on those grounds.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Exactly. So. All right. Well, that's heartbreaking. Yeah. I'm going to tell a story that broke my heart, which is a story of a person's constitutional First Amendment rights to free exercise of religion being trampled on in these United States.
That is a concern, Dan.
It is.
That should not happen in this country, Dan.
No, it shouldn't. Keen listeners will recall about a year ago, we talked about Christian nationalist Sean Feucht. I'm going to call him Feucht. Sean Feucht, okay. Which I think is how it's pronounced, Feucht. Sean Feucht, who was who you know, he was one of these guys. He was one of the guys that was having all sorts of rallies during COVID and like, making sure that he was a super spreader event everywhere he went. But he had an idiot rally in Spokane, Washington last year, where a very ill-advised appearance took place, where the mayor of Spokane joined on stage and basically sort of lent her gravitas to this clown show, which this is a mayor named Nadine Woodward. She was immediately voted out. Probably this did not help her in the election. And it was so unpopular a decision that the city council got together and passed a resolution condemning it.
Oh, wow.
Which is a thing. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you know what a city council resolution is, but it's nothing. The answer is it's not.
Right.
It isn't. So all it is like, you know, we all think that was dumb. They passed a resolution saying that, well, Brother Feucht has filed a lawsuit against the city of Spokane, claiming that the city council violated his religious freedom by passing this resolution. It referred to him as an anti-LGBTQ extremist, which he is.
Okay.
And he would cop to it too. But
this should be a badge of honor.
Yeah, he should be
for him, right?
And I'm certain that he does wear it as a badge of honor, but also he has probably run out of a little bit of publicity. His publicity machine probably was sort of pulled over on the side of the road, and he needed a boost. So he has filed a lawsuit claiming that his First Amendment rights have been violated.
Oh, Jesus.
It claims that the resolution, quote, was enacted in violation of Feucht's free exercise of religion as established by the First Amendment. It also says that the motion was a direct action that condemned and punished the public worship of Feucht. So there you go. And this is just sort of how things are going in our culture wars right now. The right demands the absolute and unfettered right to say literally anything they want.
Right.
And if anyone says anything against them, that person does not have the right to do so.
Right.
That person is then infringing on their rights.
Boy, the country that they would create for us if they were actually in power, like fully in power.
It would be called Pakistan. I mean, that's where they're headed. It's not good, people. So there you go. Protect your First Amendment rights, people. I don't know what else to say. These people are idiots, but they sure do get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
If you would like to tell us about your encounters with idiots on the far extreme Christian nationalist right, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or respond to anything else you've heard on the show. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around, there's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, we got some folks have written into us, so I will dive into that. The first one is from college instructor in Alabama. I assume AL is Alabama, as opposed to like Albania. Anyway,
spell out Albania if you ever write to us.
Yeah, if
your
you
listeners,
just
Albania.
to avoid that confusion, if you would, please.
I mean, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Last week, this is college instructor in Alabama. Last week, you talked about the training for teachers by Hillside College and Bill of Rights Institute. Do you remember this? We talked about how these right-wing groups have established these bullshit trainings for teachers. And you commented you were confused by how a public employer could require the teachers to go to religious training. They aren't required to go to that professional development, which is known as PD. However, teachers are required to keep up their certifications and to take as many units of continuing education, or CE, every few years. To take so many units of CE every few years. Teachers usually pay hundreds to get these CE credits. So if someone comes along and says, I will pay you to get your CE, you could see how that would be appealing.
Okay. Yeah.
The extra $3,000 that they are paying probably is for the teachers to create new units for the company to distribute to other teachers.
Gotcha.
Most of what counts for CE is outside of the school. Sadly, there's nothing illegal here because it is all outside of the school. The company gets your email from somewhere and they solicit you directly. The only recourse would be for the districts to not accept it as CE credit, which they absolutely should do.
Right. The districts, and it seems like there's probably some sort of state, licensing or certification of some kind for these courses, I would hope and assume.
Yeah.
Like the state should be vetting them for content that is unfitting for the public schools. Yeah. Right.
Well, this person goes on to say, but then you also wouldn't be able to accept diplomas from religious colleges, which I'm very comfortable with. I don't think that's true. I think that
that's interesting.
The school board or whoever's in the education system could come up with accreditation processes that, even if it was produced by a religious institution, they could accredit it to be a non,
I don't know enough about how that works, but
I don't either. It's they're sneaking it in everywhere.
Jesus Christ.
Listen, the ship is leaking. That's all there is to it. We got a leaky ship here.
Get out your buckets.
Yeah. Thanks for that email. Sam wrote into us to say, hey there, my friends. Your latest episode was incredibly timely. This week, I reconnected with an old friend. After telling him I had left the Mormon church and joined the Satanic Temple, he told me that some years back he had actually joined the Mormon church.
Oh.
I asked what drew him to the church, and he recounted a well-rehearsed story about seeing an angel and Jesus, and how they quoted the Book of Mormon to him, which he had never read, so it absolutely had to be true. After several minutes of probing about sleep paralysis or drug usage, he absolutely would not admit that he had invented or at least embellished the story to make it sound more fantastical. Not wanting to damage our friendship, I stopped and said, you, my friend, must be one of the lucky ones. I was Mormon for over 30 years and never even got an answer to a prayer.
Right.
He goes on to say, you and I know his story is absolute bullshit, but he seems to enjoy telling it enough that I don't think he will ever let go of it anytime soon. Not to mention that now he has told his story for more than a decade. It probably seems like it is too late to turn back now and admit that he made it all up.
He probably at this point believes it.
Well, here's what I wanted to say. I think that I think a lot of atheists discount these stories as being made up or being a product of drugs or whatever. Listen, the human brain is far more goofy than that. This person could genuinely 100% believe that this stuff happened to him. There are so many ways that a brain can invent these kinds of stories. It doesn't have to, I think we as a group need to stop calling it out as intentional bullshit or consciously crafted bullshit, and just accept that sometimes people really do have experiences that they have no way of explaining, that they then explain with in a way that is wrong.
Yeah, that they don't follow up with critical thinking skills.
Right.
They follow up with
non-critical feeling skills.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but I have more and more sympathy in my life for people who have those kinds of experiences. And I think we need to be, I think it's good to just seek the humanity in people.
So do you think the right response then would be, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry that you had the delusional experience.
That is terrible.
And then
I'm
made
so
really
sorry
bad,
that happened to
bad
you.
choices after that.
Wow.
Ooh,
Your brain really did a number on you. I am so sorry that happened to you. Oh, if I had someone to pray to, I would pray for you. That is devastating.
But I do have the number for a really good therapist who might be able to help you out.
Yeah, I don't think we like. I think that it's much. I am to the point. I'm an older man now. I've learned a few lessons. I've never gotten any good response or good thing out of like hurting people's feelings by telling them I think they're full of shit. But I have gotten good responses and reactions from people by saying, I believe your story. I believe that what you're saying happened to you. You believe it. And so I don't believe that it happened the way you think it did, but I
would love for somebody to say that to me.
I think I find better ways of saying it than
for
that.
somebody to be so condescending to me.
No, it's not condescension. Which is why but I hear that wording. That's not how. Anyway, that messaging. The message is.
I would say, Dan, is that whoever you said that to maybe had a higher emotional intelligence and just smiled and walked away.
Higher emotional intelligence than you, certainly. Anyway, okay. Well, so I'm not there yet. We'll just say I am not perfect. But I definitely think that people can have those experiences. Like,
I know you just phrased it. You messed up your messed up your phrasing. So
yes,
for on the show. So I know that you handled it well, Dan.
Well, I thank you at very least for making fun of me.
Dan, I believe you that you handled it correctly. I really do.
Let's move on. All right. This is from Erica, friend of the show, Erica.
Oh, Erica!
Who says, hi, Frank and Dan. Listened to your latest one, 651, ? She says, where you were discussing top Bible quotes to send to your atheist friends. Thankfully, since I live in Northern California, we don't hear much Jesus talk. However, we are just 5 miles from a nudist hippie colony, and we hear plenty of things I feel are analogous to Jesus talk.
I bet.
It's the New Age conspiracy theorist magical people. I have had heated debates with these people about vaccines, why the conspiracy of chemtrails is scientifically dumb, how you can't do magical manifestations because nobody can do magic. And finally, lizard people. Lizard people, you guys. That was literally, she wrote that.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Bible Belt of Texas in the 80s, and let me tell you, it wasn't half as crazy then as it is now. So I feel like I have experience comparing the two. They are the same. Both are equally anti-science and self-righteous. Conspiracy theories, after all, are just explanations for things dumb people don't understand, like children trying to explain how Santa can fit down a chimney. Also, quote, manifestation and prayer are the same thing. These New Age people talk of manifesting things from the universe when really it's the good and generous people around them providing and helping them.
Right.
That's no different than people praying for something. People praying for something, it happening because someone actually does something, and then they point to God for thank yous.
Right.
She says, one last thing. People asking me what my sign is or if I'm vegan is no different than asking me if I found Jesus. Oh, there you go. You know, out of the frying pan of Texas and into the fire of Northern California. Yeah. It's I mean, I think magical thinking is kind of magical thinking, and some people feel like they need it.
It's really just which side of the political spectrum you happen to be on, it seems.
Well, and
right?
at some point it loops around and like sort of sticks its head up its own butt.
Yeah. Oh, because anti-vax.
Because all of
talking
exactly.
about anti-vax here.
Yeah. And they'll often like suddenly see, they'll get so liberal that they'll fall off the liberal plateau and land somewhere in like libertarian or whatever.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're they might as well be on the conservative side of things.
Yeah. Crazy.
So there you go. They heads up their own butts. Do we have some folks to thank?
We do indeed, Dan. We have a new patron on Patreon. This is somebody who went to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/donate, and found and selected one of the many options.
Yeah. It's the only way that we make this damn thing go. So we kind of need people to step up and do it.
Indeed. And Jordan chose to be a teacher.
Oh, well
Signed
done,
up at
Jordan.
the teacher level.
Thank you so much
the Aaronic priesthood
for your patronage, and congratulations on now having pretend magic powers.
Pretend magic powers.
You are now a teacher in our priesthood, and that is just as meaningful as it was when we were Mormons. So congratulations.
It's the exact same thing. Yep. And so, thank you very much. And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. All right, Frank.
Dan.
Wichita, Kansas is a bastion of only good things happening.
Cute town, though.
It is a cute town.
Yeah. We drove through.
Home of the the Fred Phelpses.
That's right.
The whatever Baptist church. Anyway.
Yeah.
That thing's defunct at this point, or at least.
But we drove by it when it was still.
We did.
When it was still funked. So.
And across the street from it, in fairness, was the Equality House.
Yeah.
That was an entire house painted in rainbow colors, which is fun. But it's not to the liking of one Pastor Kyle Lammett, who of the Exodus Church in Wichita, who had a fun way of celebrating Pride this month. He went
That's
to
unexpected.
the local. Oh yeah. You'll be shocked. He went to the local library and checked out all of the LGBTQ books he could find. Probably voraciously read them and, learned some things about himself along the way. No, he just checked them out so that other people couldn't have them.
Of course.
It's a brilliant maneuver.
Yeah.
I think he must have gotten it from Sun Tzu in The Art of War.
Or I was just thinking about like students prepping for finals and
right,
checking out all the books on certain materials. So they're at the top of the curve, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. He's, it was an obvious dick move, which the library basically kind of winkingly, the Wichita Public Library System tweeted a whole thing that was like, hey, just so that you know, checking out our books in our system. Basically what it does is tell our system that there's a demand for these books. And so we will probably be ordering more of this genre, as that seems to be in high demand.
They said that.
They did.
Good for them. That's hysterical.
It's a dumb thing that they did. Hemant Mehta actually got in touch with the guy who did this thing.
Oh boy.
And was able to interview him a little bit. And he's just a dumb Christian. Here's what I wanted to talk about with you. What this put me in mind of on this beautiful Pride Month is this whole idea that Christians believe that, they believe that it is, or at least non-gay affirming Christians, believe that it is bad or wrong or sinful to have gay sex. Okay. there's nothing in that belief that says that then you have to go out and bother other people about it.
Right.
The fuck does that have to do with anything? You don't need to make any laws. You don't need to worry about anybody else getting married.
Right.
What does it have to do with, what does one thing have to do with the other?
Just don't do the thing that your God told you not to do.
Yeah.
Right.
If Mormons started to go around, and it's not just Mormons. We learned this lesson in the 20s when the Christian idiots decided to do prohibition of alcohol.
Right.
And then literally everybody was like, dude, not cool at all. They did it with a constitutional amendment, for Christ's sake. They had to unamend the Constitution to give everybody back their right to drink.
Yeah.
And drinking is way more harmful than gay. Can we just say that? Like people actually do die because of drinking. It's gay.
They don't die from gaying.
They don't die from gaying.
Yeah.
Gaying is just.
I will say this: gay, as a gay man, gaying does typically require a lot of alcohol. Like, it's just, I've been to the clubs. There's a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but there's just, you gay, you drinking.
I went to a gay pride brunch that I go to every year. There was quite a bit of booze there. And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they go hand in hand. All the sins are linked, my friends.
Oh yeah, totally. No, yeah. I mean, I obviously I'm joking a little bit, but like, it's a serious part. I've never seen somebody ostracized so quickly from the gay community as when they announced that they started going to AA. So
right,
just
don't be gay and sober.
Nope. I mean, I guess you can still do gay, but
do you at least do Molly or like psychedelics or something? Like,
there's got to be something that makes you fun, right?
Okay, but here's what I wanted to...
All joking, everybody.
Yes, of course. Yes. Here's what I wanted to get to, is that, like, okay, I don't think that anyone really rationally believes that gayness... It's not like murder, where someone else's life or someone else's,
It infringes upon,
Yeah. It's not like theft, where where one person commits an act and another person gets harmed.
Right.
We're not talking about that.
Right.
And I think that they know that.
Yeah.
So what's at the heart of them trying to keep people down, take away rights, stop behaviors that don't impact them? And I think that at least part of one piece of the puzzle is, because it has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is they need enemies. They have an in-group and they need an out-group that they can demonize, that they can fear-monger about. This is why they claim that why they work so hard to link gayness to pedophilia. Why they want gay people, why they use the word groomers when they're talking about drag queens or whatever. Because they need it to be evil enough that it does affect other people. They need it to be a crime against other humans. And it ain't.
Right.
So they got to make it up.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Yeah.
I really do think that, like, they need an out group for their in group to feel insulated and, we're good. We need them to be bad.
I mean, there are already a ton of those things, though, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, for the Mormons, it's alcohol and tobacco and coffee, right? Like, that right there. Ooh, I mean, they're terrified of coffee, right?
Yeah. Did you see the The video where people went around the campus of BYU and asked, would you rather drink a sip of coffee or murder a dog, a puppy? And several people were like, I'd probably have to kill the puppy. Several. Because they have dogmas instead of morals.
Right. I mean, so like...
And there's not an obvious prohibition of puppy murder.
Right.
There's not an overt prohibition.
Somehow that got left out of the word of wisdom.
Oh my God, it's so dumb.
You can kill them in moderation. Right? All things in moderation. Damn. No, like, seriously though, don't they have enough things to separate themselves and to say the outside world is scary, the outside world is evil, don't be of the world, right? We have to be in the world but not of the world. It's like at a certain point they have, like, if it is like, oh, we need an out group. I mean, this is obviously working on the subconscious, but if there is this thing of like needing an out group, right? Like, can't they see that they're doing harm to gay people, right? In this stance that is actually the harm that's happening. Therefore, the sin that's happening, right? If you're going to believe in sin,
I mean, and so no, they can't see that.
But like
they can't allow themselves to see that.
But they already have enough. They already have enough. Like, why not let there be gayness in the world so that they can be afraid of it? But they seem to want to squash it, right? Like, it seems like they're shooting themselves. Like, they want this like perfect world where like they can just go be Christians without any of the awful stuff around them. But then at the end of the day, like, they don't have anybody to fight against.
Yeah,
they don't have anything to make
they're really
themselves
backing
weird
themselves
and
into a corner every time.
Yeah,
and every time they get what they want, when they were able to overturn Roe v. Wade, suddenly they were like a dog that caught the car. They were like, I don't know what to do with this.
Right.
What?
Right. Yeah.
Help! I lost my wedge issue. Groomers.
Yeah.
Look over there. It's groomers.
Yeah. They found their way. They found their way. They figured it out. They found something else. But yeah, you're right.
Ugly.
The early aftermath, it was like, oh shit, what are we gonna do?
I need my wedge issue. All right. Well, friends, I'm guessing some people have some things to say about this.
I hope so.
And maybe some personal experiences or whatever. Please, we want to hear from you. Write into us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
To support the show, go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate.
Our show is edited by Roger Gowdy, and the music is provided by the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston.
Thanks to all y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2024, all rights reserved.